Happy Friday!
Happy Friday!
It's time to wind down and look at what our special surprise is.
We're together.
We're in the same location.
In Arizona.
So this is a very special. Look, we can
actually look at each other and go,
hey, wind down.
And I have to say, I wasn't, I was going to not whine today because I actually have a pretty bad cold. But then Gina found this wonderful.
It's a Moscato. A bubbly Moscato.
It's a bubbly Moscato, which I didn't even know what that was.
And it's only 11 in the morning here.
It's only 11 in the morning here, but my cold, which you might be able to hear, feels much better. The bubbles are actually like helping.
Effervescent.
Effervescent. Effervescent.
It's a new cold medicine. So we are excited that it's Friday. And
yes.
Time to wind down. And as we said in the description, we've had some questions in the past after the show or in the notes. And so we thought,
absolutely.
I think we should just have you ask us anything. But you wanted a disclaimer.
I wanted a disclaimer. Well, almost anything.
Okay.
Yeah. And for anybody who knows me, there's not a whole lot that's off limits, but ask us anything just was like a little too broad. A little too broad. So we're going to ask you something first, which is if you're here, if you're with us, throw in a comment. Dave Scott says, I love Moscato. But at 11 a.m., Dave, it is 5 o'clock somewhere.
I never would have thought that I would drink any wine before probably like 5 or 6 p.m.
Until you met me.
Until I met her.
Yeah.
And we went on wine tours at 10 a.m. And I thought, wait, people can't drink wine at 10 a.m. And you showed me why not.
Why not? Why not? You know, you can do just about anything.
Yeah.
And Dave, I mean, this is kind of light. It's mimosa-ish.
Sure, why not?
Why not? It's mimosa-ish. Who else is here? Is there anybody else with us besides Dave that thinks we're crazy?
Dave's going, Christopher, it's 5 o'clock somewhere.
It is, Christopher. It is definitely
Cheers.
Cheers to Christopher.
Cheers.
Definitely 5 o'clock somewhere. That is my motto.
Yeah, that is. And we're actually here working. We worked all morning. And yesterday we got to experience my first, I don't know if it was your first, haboob.
Haboob, which sounds a little gross. Yeah. But it actually means
it was like a crazy dust storm here in Arizona.
Crazy.
And so we couldn't see anything. It was just all dust blowing through. So we've had some interesting Arizona experiences, and yesterday was crazy. But
Bob is here. Bob Upton, he says, great to see you together.
Bob,
it's great to be together. Yes. It's great to be together. You know, I think one of the things in this world, and I'm sure you all agree, is you know, we travel, we make friends all over the world. We don't get to see each other very often, and technology is great. It's great to stay in touch, but there's nothing like face to face, being together
in the same place where you can clink glasses.
You can actually clink.
Yeah, instead of just to the camera. So
absolutely.
But we did say we wanted you to be able to ask us anything. And of course, we usually talk about innovation, innovative ways to build our business and marketing. And one of the questions that people were asking is for creative ways to repurpose or re-energize current content or older content. And I want to share an example of this, and we'll brainstorm and talk about that, because I think this is a good first question. There is a store here in Arizona, and it's an antique place. It's called Highland Yards, I think, Highland Yards. And maybe it's Highland Market, and Highland Yards is the building behind it.
Okay.
So you walk in, and it's just a big, giant antique store. Mix antiques with garage sale stuff sometimes, you know, it's regular antique. It's very large, like hundreds of individual booths. Now, once a month, what Highland Yards does is so brilliant. Once a month, they host an event in the back warehouse. And what they do is all of the vendors inside, I don't know if all of them can participate or if it costs money, and so some of them choose to participate. But a handful of the vendors will take merchandise that's already in the antique store, and they bring it to the warehouse and they reorganize it. They re-merchandise. And you've talked about kind of stores do this, where they'll take merchandise and move it to the front or move it to the back and kind of so it looks new. Well, that's what this place does. But what's really cool is what they do beforehand to get you excited about it. And that is they send out these postcards. Here's the date. It's going to happen this one day only. And you have to be there early because the doors open at 9 and you want to be there early because there's prizes and there's all kinds of stuff. Now, of course, I'm all in for prizes. So the first time I did this, I made my daughter come with me and Bailey's 22 and I said, hey, Bailey, there's an exciting event. There's prizes, fabulous prizes. So we got there at 8:15-ish and there was already a line. People were lined up. You would think they would be, new iPhone being released, but people are lined up outside the door and then they have a microphone and they're saying, okay, if you'll let us take a picture of you to post on our Facebook page, raise your hand. And everybody starts screaming. Of course, I'm screaming the loudest. And so they come over and they take a picture and it gets posted on their Facebook page. If you have checked in on Facebook or tagged us on Instagram, raise your hand because every time you did, you got tickets. They were giving away all these like little raffle tickets. And then they were giving away prizes. Now, again, you would think they'd be giving away like $100 gift certificate. No, it was guacamole mix and soup mix and candles. And so very low-end prices. But what they were doing was so brilliant because they were creating excitement for us to be able to go in and see the stuff that's in the same stuff every single day. But I thought, what could we do that's similar? Because granted, when you walk in, they did merchandise. The way they set things up was beautiful, and it was very intriguing. Even though I'm seeing stuff, I was like, oh, yeah, I remember seeing that in the other part the last time I was here. But I started thinking we could do that with our content because if you have, whether it's a blog post, whether it's a course that you created, whether it's a book that you have, what if you made something exciting out of a piece of that content? So maybe you have a book and it's been out for a while. Why not take a piece from that? Maybe there's a page that has questions on it that you can give away as a prize and create some buzz around that. So I think we could. Hello, Ahmad. Cheers to you. And Sarah, good to see you.
Hi, Sarah.
Sarah says,
Sarah joined our group too. Yeah.
I love it. And so I think we need to look at ways for our content to be revived in new ways. And it's taking pieces of existing content and building that excitement. I thought it was brilliant, and I don't know why we couldn't do it.
And I think it goes even further than that because what they did is they took merchandise, in our case, content or whatever it is we sell, and they turned experiencing that content into an experience.
It was definitely
so they created an event, they created an experience. I was saying to Gina, maybe the first time they did this whole you got to get there at 8 o'clock thing because there's going to be, maybe there was never even a line, but they created this whole sense of urgency, which comes under RS for seductive, right? Sustainable, but it is seductive too. But sustainable is the sense of emergency. You've got to get there. You've got to get there to earn the prizes. And it's all about repositioning. And so, take something as obvious as a website. How do we reposition?
That's such a good one.
I forget, I think you said it, or maybe Jared said it this morning, is that whole experience allowed you to see something you'd already seen differently.
Right.
So imagine that I'm not necessarily a new client or customer, and I've been to your website before and I go there. What's different for me? What have you changed up? Whether it's as simple, we were talking this morning about some of the feature content we have on our pages, on our blog, on the website, changing those featured content, that featured content or those featured posts. What it does is it changes things up. And so people see things differently. So whatever your business is in, whatever you sell, how can you take something that somebody's seen before and create an experience that will allow them to see it differently? It's the same reason we repurpose is because maybe they didn't see it the first time, or maybe when they saw it the first time, it wasn't the right time. So creating an experience, creating some excitement, a sense of urgency in a way that's different, I think is really important.
It's interesting. As you're saying that, I'm always looking at ways to take web content that's been sitting for a long time, I talk about revisiting one page of your website per week. Some people, maybe it's one page per month, but revisit it and look at, do I need new keywords? Have my keywords changed?
Yeah.
Maybe my graphic on that page is old and stale and could use a new graphic. All of a sudden you have a fresh look to an old blog post or an old page on your website. Now look at how can you create an event to drive people there.
Right.
And maybe you even have, I want you to take, and I hear a lot of podcasters using this, take a picture of yourself listening to my podcast or on my website. Yeah. And they say, share that, tag me on Instagram or Facebook or Twitter, and I'm going to give away a prize. What if you, created an event? I'm totally like in my brain pulling this out and kind of thinking that you'd have to come up with something that you want to give away. So maybe it's a new lead magnet you've created. Maybe it's a book you had, a course, a mini course. And you say, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give this away to somebody who was on my website, and you just have to take a picture of yourself. So you'd have to just get your phone, or you can take a screenshot of the website that you found. I don't know. Like, think of an Easter egg. Like, can you plant?
Oh, I love these little Easter eggs.
Yeah.
That's great. And here's another idea, and I don't know if I already shared this. So if I'm repeating myself, then I'm just repeating myself.
She's on cold medicine.
I'm on cold medicine mixed with whatever this is, Moscato. So that's all good.
Yeah.
One of the things we did, which might also be a way to spin this, is people who know me know I travel with a bright red ladder. And sometimes what we do is when we have a large client who has a foundation or some kind of charity, we say, for everybody who takes a picture of themselves with the ladder and then posts it on social media and tags us, we will donate to the foundation. So what I'm thinking of is, for example, if your target audience is entrepreneurs or is women, you could find a charity. It's not just you're giving a gift to the person who wins, but for every person who takes a picture of themselves and posts it on social media and tags it, we, the business, will give $1, $2, whatever it is, to an organization, a not-for-profit organization that you think your ideal target market would be really excited about contributing to. Then you don't need to actually worry about sending people again, but you say everybody who does this in the next 48 hours, and then you can come back to it and you can go, this is how much money you donated to whatever. So it's all about creating this event and experience. In fact, I love that idea so much. I think we're going to use that one. I think we may need to use that one.
I love Sarah's
cool
idea too. Sarah says you could do a quiz about the content on your webpage.
Yes.
So I'm going to ask 3 questions that I know you can only find on a specific page of my website.
And that's cool.
Or blog post or something.
Yeah.
And then you have people share that. And I like the sharing part because that gets other people to see, oh, what are they talking about, and go to your website.
And Sarah, I am so going to steal that idea, because if you go to our website, ToniNewman.com, we did bios. We did our bios in a very, very different way on our website. So go to the, I don't know what we called it, About Us. I think we called it a little something different. Meet the Team, we might have. And so we did a bio for me, a bio for Jer, and a bio for George. The monkey. He has his own bio. But if you go and you look at it, we did it very visually and fun stuff. So Sarah, your idea would be awesome for that, because we've got a lot of really fun Easter eggs in those circles. Yeah. And you could say, what is George's favorite saying? Yeah. Whoever tells us George's favorite saying first wins a whatever. So Sarah, I am so stealing that idea. Thank you. I'm writing you a check.
So those are great. So the question of how do you repurpose content? I think sometimes we get bored with our own website and we forget that it could be revived and refreshed, and we could do some fun things. Again, that antique store, it was the same old stuff, but it looked new, and they made it exciting and gave away prizes to get in the door. Again, the prizes were guacamole mix.
And we were talking about the fact that there's a radio station that I listen to that has this question they do every morning, but you play for pride, not prize. And they still get tons of people calling. So I think sometimes also we work ourselves up a prize. That means it's got to be,
something big.
We have a caption contest. So Sarah, I don't know if you've seen it today. We have a caption contest on our site. And whoever wins the caption contest, I send them something in the mail. I send them usually our little 5S pack if they don't have it. But people love getting that stuff. It doesn't have to be worth hundreds of dollars. It's just fun. Something cool.
Yeah,
it's fun
to send.
And if it could be strategic around your brand, even better.
It would actually be ideal. But
doesn't ideal. Doesn't have to be.
It's just gonna be fun.
Have to be.
So great question about repurposing. So let us know if you have other questions. One that we were talking about was the whole thing of brands. Does your brand
have a smell? Not does your brand smell?
Well, and I started thinking, wow, my brand, we all work from home. We always talk about, do we shower every day? And we're always in our yoga pants, but not yoga class. And we may not have a pleasant smell to our brand.
No, but there's this whole thing out there, and I'd really love your opinion on it, because for me, there's even though I'm the innovation, this may go a little too far, but there's this whole new business, because of course everybody's going to monetize everything, about building brand sense.
Right.
Not as in SENSE, which some people need to brand that too, but brand sense, SCENTS. And of course, we would maybe anticipate that restaurants or fragrances might, but there are some big brands that have nothing to do with that.
Well, the one that comes to mind immediately is, and I hate it, because if I smelled the smell anywhere, I would know it's Abercrombie and Fitch.
Oh, really? I don't know. I've never been in an Abercrombie & Fitch.
You don't even need to be in it. You need to walk in a mall, like even 100 yards away from them, and you smell. They have stuff piped through their air system that is so strong that I can't even go in the store because it's that strong.
That's a backfire. That's a disconnect.
That is a disconnect. Although it must work for their audience, because it's in every single store. And you smell.
And we're not their audience.
I'm not their audience.
No, we're not their audience. But there are some. So there are brand scent specialists out there right now, which for me is like going over a little. How do you run your? I saw a comment there, but I didn't.
Yeah,
Sarah asked a question.
I'll post this up.
There was the one just before that. But there are some brands doing really interesting things. So Old Spice, which of course is a scent in itself. What they did, which I thought was really, really innovative, is they recently put in a magazine an ad for Old Spice, and attached to the page there was a blazer, like a literal jacket that you could put on, and it was tucked in. It was like a tear out, and it was a real jacket that you could put on. It was made out of paper, but it had the Old Spice scent on it. And so what they did is they sent, no pun intended, they sent this out to a bunch of influencers, which is another whole key point. Right. Influencers who are wearing this disposable red Old Spice paper jacket. And so it was a little bit of poking fun at fragrances that always have the scrape and, scratch and sniff, tear out, whatever. But what a great idea, again, to create an experience around.
Well, and people would put it on and take pictures.
They put it on, take pictures, absolutely, tag the brand.
Although I want to say something about that, because I had a conversation with my daughter, the 22-year-old, the Shreklet. She said, it's funny. She was mocking us old people, because she said, I think it's funny that you guys always tell people, tag us in your Instagram post. And she says, young people would never ruin their Instagram feed by putting a picture just to win a contest. And I said, so I was challenging her, saying, so if you could win $1,000, you wouldn't put a picture of yourself and tag the brand? She's like, no. She goes, now, if I could go to their page, she goes, but I don't want that on my
that's
Instagram
interesting.
feed, which I thought was interesting, but I said, good thing you're not my demographic. But I do think that whole thing of getting people to experience in a way to take a picture of themselves is so brilliant.
Yeah,
people love it. Most people love doing that.
Now, Sarah asked a really good question.
Yeah, let me put her question up
here. She asked about email newsletters and how we run ours. And Sarah, this is such a great question, because there are so many different options out there and different versions of the way people do it. We were just talking about it. And in fact, before we relaunched ours in November, I did a lot of research on this. So I'll give my 2 cents worth, you give your 2 cents worth, and we'll take it from there. So there's one of the gentlemen who's one of the best copywriters in the world. His name is John Morrow, M-O-R-R. John is J-O-N, and Morrow is M-O-R-R-O-W. If you are not following him and you do any kind of writing, any kind of blogging, I suggest you just go and follow John, because he's brilliant. One of the things that I learned from John about email newsletters was, first of all, we tend to confuse calling something a newsletter or calling something a blog, which is really what we're talking about, is the technology. So let's put that aside. It's some kind of written communication piece that you send out to people. And what John was saying was his blog, you can only sign up for by email. So for example, John's blog, you cannot sign up to get the RSS feed of his blog. And I had the opportunity to ask him in person why he does that. And he said, because for him, growing his list is what it's all about. And he felt that if the content was good enough, people would sign up by email. I had the chance to ask him the question 3 years later after I asked him it the first time, and he said exactly the same thing. So point number one, Sarah, for us, you can only sign up for our newsletter, which comes out by email and is an overview of our blog. You can only sign up by email. You can't get an RSS feed. The other thing we decided to do, which are the other two options that people need to make kind of a big decision about, well, there's two things. One is frequency, and the other one is type of content. So we used to share one story, one article that people could read in full on the newsletter, and then there were a few fun links below. And that still is one option if that's how you want to go. The other option is what's called more of a digest or an overview. So now when our insider report comes out, it only comes out once every 2 weeks because there's a lot of content in it. And we have at least 4 pieces of content. So you have a little overview for it and a link. And because on our blog, we have 4 categories: read it, watch it, listen to it, or download it. Those are highlighted in our bi-weekly digest. So there are all kinds of options, Sarah. It's a really great question with some pretty intricate answers, but the bottom line is you need to understand what's your objective and what do you want people to do.
Well, so who's your audience?
And who's your audience. So sending out one large article, one longer article was great. People read it, but what it wasn't doing was bringing them back to the site. Now with the 4 links, one of the links take them to our site, one of the links takes them to YouTube. So what we're doing is we're directing them to a bunch of different places. So that's a Reader's Digest version of my philosophy on newsletters.
And it's interesting because I had a conversation with Tim Matthey, who's a partner at a speakers bureau. And Tim and I were talking about newsletters. And he said he subscribes or has been subscribed to many speakers' blog or newsletters. And he said, the thing I find interesting is that they're all the same. He said, I get them and they all look the same. They all have the same format, the same type of content. And that really stuck with me. I thought, first thing you need to look at is how do I make my, whatever you want to call it, newsletter, update, insider report, the love letter we talked about last week, what makes mine different?
Yes.
And am I providing content that's really interesting enough for people to not just open it the first couple times, but is it interesting enough for people to continue looking forward to getting when they get their when they open their email?
And is it congruent with the brand?
True. Yeah.
Right.
Obviously.
But a lot of them aren't.
I guess that's a good point.
That they don't look like the way you get.
They use a template.
They use a template that looks nothing like their website. It's a huge disconnect. But does it all fit with the story? What does your brand stand for? Ours stands for high value content and a lot of it. So that's why we decided.
Mine's all about low value content.
Yeah.
And
yours is all about love.
So much of it. No, I'm not. No. I mean, I'm so bad about the frequency part, Sarah, which that's been my Achilles heel. I think weekly is almost too much.
Yeah, for us it was.
But I don't know. I mean, I always say if somebody sent me something that I really looked forward to every week, I probably would still put it in my to read later file.
Yeah, so it's a balancing act, Sarah, is the bottom line. It really is a balancing act, and you need to look at your open rates. And I've had people say that our stuff comes in, and even if they don't read it, they put it aside to read later because they know there's a whole lot of content in there. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? Maybe they never go back to read it. I have people who swear by the fact that their newsletter can be read in under 2 minutes. The big under 2 minute read. Right. And I go, well, that's great, but I don't stand for an under 2 minute read. That's not what this brand stands for.
And my goal is to always have, I aim for, and I always get too wordy, one thing. What's one thing you can do this week? Or what's one thing you could focus on for this month? Because I feel like, especially in the social media space, there's so many things we should be doing that people get overwhelmed so they do nothing. So what's one thing that can help move your business forward?
Yeah.
So you have to look at who is your audience. Are they a research type of person? And Sarah, you're, I think, if I'm not correct, in the e-learning space. So you've got people who are used to reading more meaty content and educational type content. So you need to look at that and say, okay, are they looking for, how do they consume content? Which part of it is testing, because we look at even yours of going, okay, what links are they clicking most? Video, audio, the written words?
In fact, we just looked at it, and it was video, but there were still a lot of people clicking on the podcast and clicking on the articles, which means the one thing that we luckily have succeeded in doing is providing content in different ways,
different formats,
so that they consume it. Because even though a lot of the people click on the videos, there are other people clicking on other things. And if those weren't included, those options to consume the content differently weren't included, then you'd miss those people.
So really looking at and testing, running those. And if you're getting a good equal disbursement of links, clicks, then your audience likes the content in that mixed format. If you were getting nobody clicking on the podcast links or the audio links or the written word, but they were all watching the video, obviously that's where you'd want to focus more of your time. So I think newsletters have just become so, I think we're so used to them. We need to really shake up how we name them, what we call them, what our subject lines are, how we deliver them, what's in them, so that they're really unique.
And you bring up a really good point, which is a subject line. And whenever we're talking about innovative experiences, that subject line is so important. It is so important. And one of the highest open rates we had was a few weeks ago for the Insiders Report that went out, and the subject line was friends with benefits. Open rate.
The seductive rate was high.
The seductive rate was high. Open rate went through the roof. And I'm a fan, and again, this is the world according to Newman. I am a huge fan of subject lines that drive curiosity and that create some kind of intrigue, as opposed to, volume 2 Insiders Report or something like that. I personally, I know there are people that do that. I personally don't do that, because I want the subject line. I spend a lot of time thinking about the subject because I want it to create some curiosity. Mine are often questions. What is this? Or also, did you see this or something?
Test adding an emoji in your subject line.
Is it working? Does that work?
It does, because again, if you look at your inbox, it's going to stand out.
Yeah.
So look at an appropriate emoji for the topic that you're covering, or one that's your branded emoji. Putting that in the subject line, whether that's in the beginning, the end. When I'm promoting my podcast, I've been using a lightning bolt. So I'll say, listen to new podcasts with a lightning bolt. Just because our inboxes are so full, it would help it stand out visually to at least give you that extra double take for people to look. So play with things like that as well.
So Sarah, has that been helpful? You give us a yay or a nay in the comments to see if we've, thank you so much. This gives me a lot to think about. Okay. There you go.
So we overloaded.
We might have over answered.
Yeah.
We always over answered.
She asked for a glass of wine and we poured the whole
bottle.
Yeah. We dumped you in the barrel of it. But I think it's a great topic and a great question, because it is funny that we just were talking about it this morning, and we're always trying to analyze what works.
Here's the flip side. The flip side is, don't be like me. Don't overanalyze. We can get caught up. That video, the audition or commit, right? We can get I can get caught up in doing things right and doing at some point. If that's getting in the way of you actually just getting your content out there, then that's not a good thing. It's very smart to analyze. It's very smart to look at what's working and what's not. But at some point, you got to go with your gut, what's right for you, and at least get it out there. It's like the book that I'm writing, and people keep reminding me that it can't get edited until it gets written.
Funny how that works.
So Sarah, you just got to get some stuff out there and see how people react.
See how they react. And sometimes when we get down on ourselves that, I don't have the right, people aren't reading it, or people aren't opening it could be that you have the wrong people in your list.
Could be.
So maybe new blood into your email list. It's time to recruit using lead magnets, or using, the teaser content to sign up for my weekly tips on this. it's time for new people to come in that might be the right audience.
And that's a really interesting thing too, is that I was looking at our insider report open rates, and we're very fortunate. We have a really good open rate. And so there were a couple of things that happened when I looked at the numbers a couple of weeks ago, or even a week ago. Was one, that we had actually lost 100 subscribers, and I just about had a heart attack. And the second thing was the open rates were down. As I say, we're still very fortunate. We have great open rates, but they're down. And as soon as I see that kind of fluctuation, my analytical brain goes into overdrive. So first thing was that the losing of subscribers. And I went to Jared and I said, what's this about? And it turned out that they were all from a group that I had spoken to a couple of years ago. And then the kind of newsletter went on hiatus. And when it came back, these people were all going, I don't remember signing up for this, which they did. But the point, Jared's point was, they were never really our ideal clients anyway. Exactly. And so getting those names, we have a small but mighty list with a high open rate. And I would rather have that than 10,000 people with a 2% open rate. Like, so it's not so much just the open rate. And the other thing we were thinking about this morning is, depending upon your email, what's it called, platform or whatever it's called.
The service you use.
The service you use. So for example, I can read an entire email without clicking on it to open it, because I have a preview pane in Exchange. So those emails come in, I have a preview pane. I scan down my digest emails every morning, love them, never click, never open them. I will click through on something if I want to see it, but that doesn't count as an open rate, that counts as a click through. So with today's technology, sometimes we can get caught up in thinking something means something, when in fact, people are finding other ways just to absorb the content. So take a deep breath. This is the pot calling the kettle black. Well, take a deep breath.
Also, you can reframe things. I've been actually celebrating the unsubscribes, because when you get to a certain point, you're paying for these people to be on your list.
Yes.
And if they're dead weight to your list, or they're never the right audience in the first place, you know, sometimes we get, like, I've created lead magnets that might attract a certain group of people that they're never really going to be my ideal audience, but it was a piece of content that I created because I got a lot of questions about it or something. I need to, as a matter of fact, I've been debating on this, spring cleaning email list, and do one that the subject line is, please unsubscribe.
Please see, that would get an open.
It would get an open rate. And then I'm going to say in there, I don't want to bug you. I don't want to be sending you helpful tips to build your business if you don't have a business to build.
If I use that subject line before you get a chance to use it, does that affect our friendship?
I'm sending it tonight.
Oh, darn.
But I think that would actually be, it would be. And I think it's a smart one, because sometimes we're hanging our pride on a number of subscribers, when, like you said, Toni, I'd rather have fewer subscribers that actually open my content and that are the right audience. And I think too many times we think, oh, I need, 100,000 subscribers. You could have 100,000 subscribers and 40 people are your real audience. Yeah. Quit paying for people who are on that list and they never do anything. So I'm gonna do it. Yeah. Please unsubscribe.
Please unsubscribe.
I don't want to pay.
So
for
what time
anymore.
Are you doing that tonight?
I won't tell you. It's gonna be a surprise. Surprise. I'm gonna use her S. Surprise.
Surprise.
And it's seductive.
It's seductive.
So, and look, it's already, our time is up.
No.
It is.
It's been crazy.
30 minutes. I know.
That's crazy.
So those of you who didn't get your questions in first, we're sorry.
So you could go in the comments.
True.
And put the questions, or we won't answer them. We'll save them for another wind down.
Because that'll be seductive.
Because that'll be suspenseful.
And it'll be really cheating for us.
Is that another S? Suspenseful? Suspensefulness? Something. It might be another S.
Yeah.
It might be another
S. 6 S's. You have to rebrand everything.
6 S's. Yes, and the 6 S's doesn't work. 5 S's is really good. So have a wonderful weekend. Have a wonderful weekend. Yes. We are definitely going to have a wonderful weekend, because we're actually
enjoy the sun together a little bit. We might have to go to that antique store.
We're going to go to the antique store.
Just for research.
Yeah, for research. We're going to art.
Marketing, research.
Tomorrow the guys are going to golf, and we're going to art.
Yeah. Tomorrow. So I hope you guys have as much fun as we have.
Wonderful weekend. And really, seriously, if you have questions, because it's great for us to keep coming up with stuff, but like Sarah, that was a great question that we might never have thought of, but so relevant and so important. So Bob says we're awesome, especially live together. So that I just need to move to Arizona.
I told her there's a place across the street.
Yeah.
There's a lot that you could build.
There's a lot yeah, there's a lot we could do with a lot.
Yeah.
And okay, I'm tired and I got a cold.
She has a cold. Back to lay in the sun.
Back to laying in the
sun.
Thank you guys. Have an amazing weekend. We appreciate you so much.
Cheers.
It's 5:00 somewhere.
And it's probably 5:30.
5:30 somewhere. It's 5:30 somewhere. Bye.
Bye, everyone.